You know him as a guy who hacked Yahoo, AOL, Time Warner, MCI, WorldCom, Microsoft, and very famously the New York Times, and that's just a few of his hacks. Adrian Lamo, one of the most celebrated hackers in the world today. Do you define yourself as a hacker? Do you consider yourself a hacker?
It's not a term that I try to sell myself as.
Yeah.
People use hacker to mean a lot of different things, and I really just do what I do. It's not limited to computers, so I really don't know if it's hacking.
I think Adrian is a really example of a guy with very strongly held beliefs. His ethical scheme may not match society's or other people's, but he believes in it, and he's living up to his own ethical precepts. And you got to admire a guy like that. He's almost a savant when it comes to cracking.
Any company that you hear is a common brand name pretty much had a router with WorldCom, had network connectivity with WorldCom, was managed by WorldCom. They were considered to be highly secure. They managed traffic for individual bank branches, potentially even for ATM devices. WorldCom used their employee social security numbers as identifiers, sort of pretty much as employee numbers. The passwords also weren't hard. Some of them had random alphanumeric passwords, but some of the companies that you do business with every day had passwords that were simple dictionary words, names of animals. Here you have companies that on one hand have paid millions of dollars for this network infrastructure, and they can't even be bothered to think of a good password. By combining these dial-up numbers and the logins, anyone at all with this information could have connected to each and every router that handled the data for Bank of America, Ford, Chrysler, NASA. There were very detailed routing paths, like I could see how the Goddard Space Center talked to NASA headquarters. Really, in just the course of a few hours, anybody could have gone through and turned them all off. Network connectivity for a huge chunk of corporate America and for the government would have just gone away. Anybody thinking about it should be scared by the possibility of just how vulnerable it was to anybody that could have used that information. You didn't need to be a programmer. You didn't have to be a technical wizard. You could have done it from a payphone. Nobody would have ever known who was responsible for it.
And he would find the flaws and notify the companies that had the flaws, in line with a lot of other hackers. They have this journal 2600. They all promote, we've got to be ethical hackers. You're going to be on our bad side if you go out and abuse this the wrong way, which means being destructive, or if you're going to use it for your own personal gain to make profits and all that.
There are these guys and they call themselves helpful hackers. I mean, the truth is that the media wants to portray these guys as helpful hackers because that makes them more interesting. Because the media doesn't have a very good story if they go and say, well, there's this borderline sociopath, Adrian Lamo, who breaks into these corporations in order to professionally humiliate the people who are responsible for managing the networks, and then for some reason he expects us to thank him for that.
Do you consider yourself on a mission to get these companies to realize that they have poor security?
I don't consider it my responsibility to reform security in the world as we know it. I think, if anything, I'm on a mission to be in the right place at the right time.
Most hackers, when they're trying to hack into something, they'll have all kinds of programs that they run. There's things that are called exploits. Adrian just goes to a web page and starts clicking around a little bit, and all of a sudden he's at some sensitive company information. I mean, just the fact that he uses a web browser, just from Kinko's. I've never seen him use anything other than just a web browser. Adrian never damaged any company that he had any dealings with. I mean, he never asked for money, never asked for anything. The companies that he helps is just a consequence of what he does. He doesn't wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to hack so-and-so, or I'm going to help so-and-so. He just finds himself someplace looking at some information and thinks, you know, these people might want to close this down so other people don't follow my path in here. If I can get in here, other people can too.